Center for Spiritual Living here in San Clemente. We're glad you're here with us. And we'd like you to join us on our first sing-along song by Daniel Nima. No, by Rick Dale. So sorry, I was thinking ahead, jumping ahead of one. Called I Am Enough.
Arise.
Arise and rise.
Remember, the choreography starts, the hip goes this way first. Okay?
To your left.
Good morning, beautiful center. I'm Carla Sherradas, your staff minister. And did you notice? Did you notice? It's spring. And the grass grew this much taller, and the birds are singing their beautiful, beautiful sonnets to us. And God is expressing itself in every flower head. So welcome, and welcome spring. It's here on Sundays that we get to just express that goodness of God in us through the music, through the message, and through the fellowship with each other. We're going to start this morning by starting our morning fames of faith, lighting the flames of faith. We perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from one great universal presence, which we call God. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. We light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living the sacred law. We light the candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of compliance with the will of God as the highest calling. We light the candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And as practitioner Tony Sparks lights the last candle, let it represent the path that brought you here this morning. And I invite you now to join me in prayer. In this precious, precious moment of prayer, I recognize that there is a divine presence in this universe. It is love. It is love actualized. And it's actualized in everything. There is no place that this love does not exist. It is in the center of everything. And therefore, I know that it is in the center of me. It's in the center of you. It's in the center of us. It is life itself. And so I celebrate this idea that all of life is continually springing forward, continually renewing itself as we renew our own minds, as we recognize and remember that we are this love, and that we can bring this calling into love whenever we put our attention to it. And as we do, it expands. Love is everywhere. It's in this room. It's in our minds. And it is in every act that we do. So today we bring forward all of those beautiful verities of God, the verities of beauty and joy, the verities of peace and light, the verities of God, power, that strength, that goodness, that reality that is ours. We are powerful in that truth, powerful knowing that there is a strength that moves us forward into living the most beautiful, creative, on-purpose life that we could ever imagine. And so I claim that for myself as I claim it for each one of you. Thank you, God. Thank you for this renewing of my mind. Thank you for this continual springing forward of new ideas. My heart is open with such gladness. And as I release this word together, we affirm it by saying, and so it is. And now I'd like to invite Reverend Judy to come up and read us the Declaration of Principles and our affirmation.
Thank you, Reverend Carla, for that inspiring prayer. Okay, we're going to read it together, the declaration, and then the affirmation also together. I believe in God, the one creative intelligence, operating through the universe and operating throughout my entire being, now and always. I believe this perfect creative according to my creative intelligence, can be used by me and by every other person to produce health, abundance, and love in mind, body, and total life experience. I use it now, and I rejoice in it, and so it is. And our affirmation. My life is the life of God. Therefore, divine wisdom, clarity, and power guide and direct me, and I am free, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Judy. And please welcome our soloist this morning, Kelly Corsino.
Good morning. Good morning. It's so nice to be back with you all again. Does anybody remember me from last year?
yeah.
Do you remember John, my husband?
Yes. And
You
your
guys
dog.
rock. And the dog, of course, the star of the show, Gigi. I'd like to sing this song for you. It is called Filling Up from my first CD, Within. Giving till I was empty. That's when I found I wasn't looking
was wonderful, Kelly. Thank you so much. Bringing me back to home, too. Whew. The message this morning is entitled Self-Evident Truth Within You. The self-evident truth within you. And you know, our most famous piece of writing that begins, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that men are created equal. Written in a time when all men were not created equal. Women weren't even counted as people. Written in a time, so it's puzzling to me how Thomas Jefferson could say these things are self-evident when they weren't. Now, but they didn't appear to be. And same with we hope the truths that Ernest Holmes is talking about in this essay. The self-evident truth within you is that God is all there is. God is everywhere present, and you are. So God is right where you are, in you, as you. Everything that's true of the divine is true of you. And he says it's self-evident. And then and when you look up self-evident in Merriam-Webster, the dictionary says it's what does not require proof. But then Ernest takes the whole essay and proves how this self-evident truth is so within us. I'm not going to go there. We teach this, we believe it, that there is only one life. It's the life of the divine, no matter what name we call it, that every single one of us is an aspect of this life, and that we are living fully empowered by the energy of that spirit that is within us. And so, we think about our lives, and we think about, has this been so for me in the past week, in the past 24 hours, in the past 48 hours? And I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of time in tears in the last 48 hours. Some of them were happy tears, because I happened to see Kimberly Woolridge's amazing play called The Other Desert Cities. And if you can see it, I highly recommend it, because it invites us to look at things from another perspective, another point of view, to get a different look on what appears to be a very dysfunctional family. Really intense play. And it's so intense that I'm sitting there, you feel like you're right in their living room, and they're talking about things that would be upsetting in a family. It's like, oh, quit it, stop. Don't talk about politics. Don't make yourselves wrong or each other wrong for what you believe. And certainly don't talk about your brother who committed suicide. All of that is in the play. And it has such a satisfying shift in perception. And I won't tell you any more of that, because maybe you'll see it sometime, and you need to be able to see it with the fresh eyes, saying, okay, there's going to be more here than I thought at first. And then I spent a lot of time yesterday. First of all, I saw some posts on Facebook of people who had participated in the march yesterday. And then I watched the CNN coverage of the young people from Florida that were speaking in the Capitol and speaking about the need to do something about the automatic guns in particular. And I want to talk about one of the girls that spoke, a woman by the name of Emma Gonzalez. She has to be one of the bravest 17-year-olds I've ever seen, 18, well, however old she is, still in high school. But she stood for 6 minutes, 22 seconds, and she only spoke for the first minute 57. And then she stood, tears coursing down her cheeks, and she stood. And people are uncomfortable with silence. Have you noticed that? Yes. When people become silent, then the audience fills in the blanks. They do. They fill in the blanks. They didn't know whether to encourage her, and so they shouted some things, but she wasn't ready to be done. She had a plan, and her plan was to let them know what 6 minutes, 20 seconds meant, because that's how long the shooter shot. So she kept the mic on and kept standing with these thousands and thousands of people trying to make her more comfortable. She was, and that she, like this, Namara, Hindu sage, was walking with God. And they were walking along, and Namara asked God, said, God, please, there's a question I've always been wondering. What is the secret to life, and what do the appearances mean? And God said, nothing. They just kept walking. And then a few miles later, sometime later, God said, Namara, would you go to the next village? It's just a little ways up, and get me a glass of water. We've been walking a long time, and I'm thirsty. They were in the desert. So Namara said, of course, Lord, I'll be right back with the water. He goes, counts the first house in the village. He knocks on the door, and a beautiful young woman answers. He looks in her eyes, and they connect heart to heart, soul to soul. And he knows he just wants to be there with her. And so he just immediately just wants more of this woman. And so he's invited to stay overnight. So he stays overnight. And then he does chores and helps around the house. And the whole family just adores him. And he's so comfortable. And so then they fall in love. And when the proper time has gone by, he marries her, and then they have a couple of 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and then he opens a little shop in the village, and they prosper, and then her parents both pass away, and he becomes the head of the family. And then in monsoon season, a big rain comes, and the river is rising, and they need to leave their home. So he takes the children and his wife, and he's leading them out of danger. And one of the boys is swept away, and he reaches for him and loses the other child. So both boys have swept away, and then the daughter falls in the river, and then the wife is swept into the river, and then a big, huge wave comes and sweeps him into the river. And when he finally recovers and gets out of the river, he finds himself just bereft. He's lost everything. He's sobbing with pain and with loneliness. There's no one around, and his family is all gone. And he presumes them dead. And so he's sobbing, and then he looks around and realizes he's not on the riverbank any longer. He's in the desert. And he hears God's voice say, child, I've been waiting for many minutes, and you have not returned with my water. And Naram said, just devastated. How could I forget the one command of my Lord? He only asked me one thing, and I forgot all about it. And he begged for forgiveness. And God said, and that is the secret of life and appearances. And that is the secret of a life and appearances. We're all things. And every single part of our life will be whatever it is. We're likely all going to experience grief and loss. We're likely all going to experience joy and love and belonging and connection. It's the nature of life. The secret of life is that is what happens, and God is everywhere present in all of it. There's not a spot where that divine life is missing. It's everywhere. It's one of the oldest traditions is Hinduism. And what wisdom comes out of it? What wisdom comes out of it? One of my favorite stories is a Jewish teaching story. And the disciples are being asked by their master, how do you know when it's dawn, when day has come? And one of the students says, well, Master, it must be when I can see that that's my house and not my neighbor's house, then it's dawn. And the master says, no, that's not it. So another one says, well, when I can see that animal is a pet of mine, not somebody else's animal, then it must be dawn. He said, no, that's not it. Another one thinks, well, when I can see the color of the flowers and discern the color, it must surely be dawn. And the master says, no, no, no. You've missed the point entirely. It's only dawn when you can see that the man or woman beside you is your brother or sister, because we are one. That's when it's dawn. It's only dawn when you can see that each one is an expression of the divine. Each one is as you in you, just as you are as them in them. So, these truths we hold to be self-evident. That there is only God and absolutely nothing else. If we actually did hold it to be self-evident, if it was so obvious, how might we live our lives differently? Today is Palm Sunday, and for many Palm Sundays, we did Jesus Christ Superstars. That's what we did, and it was wonderful, and evidently for way before I came, we did Jesus Christ Superstar, and it was wonderful. And this Palm Sunday, we're not doing that. We have Kelly here. How fantastic is that? And it's wonderful. So the ability to let go of what was and to be fully present for what is one of our really important spiritual practices. To let go. That was great when, Narama, his whole life falling in love with that beautiful woman, having those children, they had opening a shop, it was all good. And the secret is that is everybody's life. That is everybody's life. One of the things that I was doing as I was researching this, Thich Nhat Hanh is one of my favorite teachers of peace. He's a Vietnamese peace walker, teaches peace, reconciliation. And he says, you can prepare for this. When we are angry, our minds are not lucid. We're not clear thinking. Now you know this. When we are angry, we're not clear thinking, and we can't make good decisions, and we forget who we are. So he says, put a note in your wallet, a handwritten note that you've written yourself. And the handwritten note says, Dear one, I suffer, and I want you to know it. And you read it to yourself, and you might even share it with the person, if it's a person that you're angry with. But you first of all read it to yourself. I suffer, and I want you to know it. When I then regain lucidity and clarity, I can make better decisions. And when you are the one that has been hurt of us have been hurt. That's the human condition. You can say, another note, I just put it on the back of the same note. Both these notes would be in your wallet, according to Thich Nhat Hanh. Dear one, I'm doing my best. Please help me. Dear one, I'm doing my best. Please help me. And you first of all read it to yourself. And maybe you would ask for help. In Louise Hay's daily calendar, the last 2 days, yesterday was about being willing to ask for help when you need it. Some of us are not so good at that. Some of us are really good at it. But all of us are getting better and better because we're practicing. And today's was a reminder from Course in Miracles. Everything is either a cry for love or a cry to love. So either fear or love is claiming our attention. Either fear or love. If it's fear, it's not of the truth of you. It might be of the humanity of you, but it's not the truth of you. That self-evident truth has never had any fear because it's one with all life. One with every being, everything. Okay, so you could practice by writing some notes to yourself. It's not about judging other people. It's about you taking responsibility for your own life and choosing to have a really great life. Today is the day. It's the day Jesus rode in triumph into the city and was lauded and applauded. And yes, it's that day, because everything is our story if we so choose it. Choose now that self-evident truth within you, and so it is. I am going to pray. And this is what I know for sure. I know this. I know that there's only one life, and that life is God's life. That life is whole, complete, and perfect. That life is my life right now. That life that has never been confused, the mind of God that has never been confused, the mind of the divine that is clear and knowing that it's never been hurt or been angry. It's always been that thing itself that sits in absolute perfect composure, clarity, freedom. This is what I know for each one of us, and I speak it in the first person. I know that I am here on purpose so that I could live life in a greater way as the greatest expression of myself that I can imagine. And when I make a mistake, I stop, I get clear, I ask for forgiveness or make amends, and I continue to bring more of that God self forward. I know that this is true in every aspect of my life. It's true of my physical being, that every cell of my body is the expression of the divine and is filled with light and power and peace and wholeness. I know that this is true in the body of my affairs, so that there is abundance in my life because I am creating a life that I love. I know that this is true in terms of relationships, that there is connection and love in my life because I love myself. And because I acknowledge that love, more and more comes to me and through me. And I know that this amazing presence that is the presence of God within me is the source of all. It's the source of all creativity. It is that infinite presence, that infinite power, the all-knowingness of spirit. And he is good and very good. I know that this is already the truth. I know for each person experiencing grief today, or anger, or disappointment, that whatever answer is the highest and best answer for them, it is right now available, it's known, it's true. I'm so grateful for knowing what I know. I'm so grateful that truly I am never alone, for that power presence of God is my constant companion. And because my heart is filled with gratitude, I simply place this word, knowing it's complete, in the law of God, in God's metaphorical hands. I know it is complete, it is done, and so with gratitude we anchor it by saying together, and so it is.
Please welcome back Kelly Corsino.
Made a wish. That nobody heard. A secret wish. That I could disappear. I wondered if anyone would know. Well, I wondered if anyone would care if I didn't show up at all. Even on my darkest night, my soul can see. Even when my eyes are blind, my soul can see. There was never a day I didn't whisper and say, "You're it." So I made a wish, and I hope you heard. You are precious, yes you are, and you are so needed here. Well, I wonder if you know the lives you touch. I wonder if you think it means enough. You'd be willing to see the light. Even on the darkest night, your soul can see. Even when your eyes are blind, your soul can see. There was never a day to whisper and say, please bring your gift. Crack of light in my armor doesn't mean I am weak. Darkness in me, it won't survive, because I believe. Even on the darkest night, my soul can see. Even when my eyes are blind, my soul sees. There was never a day that didn't whisper and say, please, please bring your gift.
Thank you, Kelly. Just beautiful. It's time for us to share our gifts, our tithes, our offerings. And we're doing, the stewards could come forward. I saw them coming forward, and then I saw them sitting down again. I guess I wasn't giving clear instructions. So what we're doing is doing this in a sacred way, and that just meaning to do it with awareness and with meaning. So we take a little bit of silence right after we speak our affirmation, and then we follow that by singing together, I am so blessed, and followed by that, Diane is going to lead us in something that continues in that awareness of gratitude. Okay, my offering is my acceptance of God as the source of my supply and symbolizes my faith in the abundant flow of this supply. like to now acknowledge those of you who've been in service, which is another spiritual practice. So if that's you, would you please stand in service today or have been? Thank you so much for all that you've trained. And if the practitioners would remain standing, the practitioners are trained in the art and science of affirmative prayer, and if you make an appointment with one of these beautiful people, you will have your life transformed. And if you want to get a taste of it on Sunday, you have 3 choices and 4 practitioners. So the practitioners are Fred Mercado, Tony Sparks, Kathy Story, and Reverend Judy Chapman. 2 of them will be at the affirmative prayer table, and the 3rd one in the tranquility room. So let's acknowledge our practitioners. And if you're here for the very first time today, we have a special gift for you, and all you need to do to receive it is acknowledge that you are here for the first time. Stand or raise your hand or hop up. Good, welcome, welcome. So happy that you're here. There's a gift in that bag. There's some information about us and a gift and a welcome card. If you fill out the welcome card and take it to the bookstore, you'll receive another gift. But we would like to acknowledge you. So I'm going to say something and then have everybody repeat it after me. Welcome to our center.
Welcome to our center.
You are a difference maker.
You are a difference maker.
We know that God in you
We know that God in you
is prosperous,
is prosperous,
is loving,
is
enough.
enough.
All the creativity in the world is yours.
All the creativity in the world is yours.
And you bless us by your presence.
And you bless us by your presence.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Let's acknowledge our gift today. And now, John Rosenberg, I'd like to call you up for a little quick explanation of what's going to happen after service. What is a sound bath healing? And
No, just kidding. So, oh, that's bright. I'm getting a suntan up here. Stop. And just receive a breath. Biggest breath you've taken in all day. Try that one more time. This time when you exhale, let your throat soften and let the breath come out through your throat. And just take a minute to realize how little you've been breathing in the past hour, past day, past weeks. So the breath work that we'll be doing this afternoon is kind of an active meditation. Notice that you already stopped breathing. It's an active meditation that takes you deep into the breath and keeps bringing you back to the breath. So if you're anything like me and the sitting in silence is anything but silent, this is a good way to move past that chatter in the mind. And it takes you to a level that is normally only achievable in the dream time. The chakras are stimulated, they start spinning, and it takes you to a whole other level. Kelly will be doing a sound bath. She's got crystal singing bowls, her voice, and a whole bunch of other fun toys. And the combination of the sound and the breath, once again, help you get past that chatter in your mind and into a much deeper level, where you can connect to spirit, where you can connect to your guidance. So we're going to start at about noon. And if you have a yoga mat or a blanket or something, bring it. This work is done. It's really easy. If you can lay down, inhale and exhale, you're good to go. There's no secret science to this. Anyone can do it. And this is something you can take home into a regular practice as well. So please join us at noon. Thanks.
And now our announcements.
Today's announcements are brought to you by the Animal Kinship Ministry and I Am's Dog Food.
Stay after service, because instead of Conscious Connections, we're going to have this lovely sound bath event from Kelly and John. So experience healing like you've never had before. This event is on a love offering basis. They also, of course, have CDs and other lovely things for sale back there, and 20% of all proceeds go back to the church. Heal, heal.
Who wants a treat? Who wants a treat? This week at Wednesday's Wisdom, the speaker will be the Right Reverend Patty Mercado, who will lead a peace meditation to recognize the season for nonviolence. Good girl.
On Tuesday, April 3rd from 6:30 to 9, Dr. Heather will begin a 16-week series. The week series is called The Spiritual Path. Who wants to go for a walkies?
And the second 8-week series is called The Nature of Effective Prayer. These classes are appropriate for beginners as well as advanced students who simply want to enjoy being in class. Many Psalm students have said, "My life just works better when I'm in class." So, who's a good boy?
It has been several years since Dr. Heather has taught these basic classes, and she's excited to offer them again. As an incentive, the cost for this series has been lowered. Students desiring class credit will pay $240, and if no credit is desired, a love offering is accepted. Now, who's a good girl?
Oh, look at the little puppies. On Sunday, April 15th at noon, the in-flight teens are hosting a day at camp. So won't you please stay and play? You may get to experience your youthful self again as the teens lead some of their favorite activities from camp and try to teach some of us old dogs some new tricks.
Want to play? Go get your ball. Want to play? Friday, May 4th at 7 p.m. we're having a Posse-Palooza concert that features the Posse award-winning artists Freebo, Harold Payne, and Richard, I can never pronounce this guy's name, McDeesey, thank you. Tickets for the event are $20.
Did you dig up those flowers? Naughty, naughty. Now, those flowers are from Marianne Lanou to celebrate her birthday. Happy birthday, Marianne! Good girl! And now,
One announcement. Just next week, we're going to have our wonderful Easter service, and the choir is doing a lot of extra music before service. Normally when it's just band, there's going to be extra beautiful choral music, so please come at 10:20 to join us for a wonderful service with Reverend Heather and our fabulous choir.
Right on.
And now speak, and welcome the kids.